School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by the Alberta Canola Producers Commission. Okay, Scott, a lot of times we're focused on insects we're trying to, get out of the field, eradicate out of the field because it's damaging our canola yield.
Right.
But there's some other types of insects that are there that have a benefit.
Yeah, actually, most of the insects we see in fields are either neutral or beneficial. And that's kind of something we're trying to get across in these workshops, is that there are a lot of things going on in the field, a lot of positive things going on in the field. And when we spray, and it takes out the good and the bad together.
And we can't be misleading about it, though. We're not to the point where if we don't spray, the beneficials are going to take care of our negative insect problems.
That's right. If there's threshold numbers, you have to spray, you have to do the control work, because then our beneficials haven't done their job. But a lot of times, actually, beneficials will hold those populations in check enough that we don't have to spray as well.
Is there any way to scout for beneficials, or should you be scouting for beneficials?
Yeah, the research is not really solid on how to read the beneficials and how important they are. I know Dr. Lloyd Dosdall's working on a project in diamondback moth so that we can actually start to bring that into the equation. But at this point, we don't have really solid information to say, yeah, there's enough beneficials here, we won't have to spray.
What's our most beneficial insect overall?
Our most beneficial insect? Holy smokes. I have to think about that one. Probably, if you look at our insects, our biggest problem insects are probably birth armyworm, and I would say probably there's a tachinid fly and a Bancus wasp that are probably the big ones in the birth armyworm system, at least.
Do you have any estimates on the average? I know average is dangerous, but on the average, what percent control beneficials can have in a field?
Actually, it goes the whole range, right? We can go into fields and see zero control from beneficials, whereas Lloyd Dosdall is showing work where we see diamondback moth with 90% parasitism rates. So we get that whole range. In birth armyworm, when we hit about 60% parasitism, the next year we don't have to spray. Or actually the next year the population crashes.
So I guess it reinforces the point that we shouldn't just go out and spray. We need to go out, sweep our fields, and make sure we're above those tolerance levels before we take action.
That's right, and that's exactly the message we're giving, is when you're assessing your insects, if you're below threshold, let Mother Nature, let the natural predators and parasitoids do their work. But when you hit the threshold number and you have your crop and your livelihood to protect, then you have to make that decision and spray.
You guys mentioned in your presentation that in some cases, early feeding or certain levels of feeding will actually boost yields.
Yeah, and it's actually, especially in canola, which is a very elastic or plastic sort of a plant and crop, where there's solid research showing that low-level diamondback moth feeding will actually increase root mass and increase the yield potential of that crop. Now, there's a tipping point, but early on, the crop can take a lot of feeding, and really actually you'll see zero or even a benefit from a little bit of feeding.